what's happening, y'all? Welcome back to the Media Goose channel. It is I, the Media Goose, RJG, Ryan James Gorman, and the goose is loose. I'm coming at you today with my grades for the NFL Draft. I'm grading every team's haul from the entire draft, all 7 rounds, and I am starting today with the NFC. I will have the AFC up either today as well, or that one may be up tomorrow. So let's get right into it, and I'm going to get started with the NFC West. Let me also say, I'm not a draft scout. I don't know every player that got drafted. The last 3 to 4 guys on every team, I might not have the best idea of who they are, but I'm going to do what I can. I know, I would say like at least the first 4 or 5 rounds I'm pretty knowledgeable, but that 6th and 7th round, give me some slack, please. So we're going to start off with the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals selected Jeremiah Love 3rd overall. In the 2nd round, they took Chase Bisontis, the guard. Then they took Carson Beck in the 3rd. They took Caleb Proctor, an athletic defensive tackle. And the end of their draft was Reggie Virgil, Carson Scherer, and Jaden Williams. Those last 3 I'm not that familiar with, but I gave them a C, maybe a C+, but I think I'm going to stick with C. Jeremiah Love may be the best player in this draft, but I don't know, man. They got a lot invested in running back already, and they don't have a right tackle. I don't think Jaden Williams, who they took at the end of the draft, is coming in to start. Bisontis is a guard. He's not a tackle. So unless they're kicking a guard outside, they still don't have a tackle. Carson Beck, I don't know about him either. I would have taken Garrett Nussmeier over Carson Beck. After his shoulder surgery, I just don't know that he has the arm talent necessary anymore. That was a big overpick in my opinion. But I do like Proctor late, so I'm going to stick with a C. Then for the Rams, this is my worst grade on the day. I gave them a C-, and that might be generous. Ty Simpson, to me, it's a nepotism pick. Les Snead trying to help out a friend. Apparently, they're in talks to extend Stafford for upwards of 2 more years. So you wasted the 13th overall pick for a guy who might not play for 3 years. That's unacceptable. Max Clare, you have like 4 tight ends already. He's your 5th tight end. Keegan Trost was very overdrafted at tackle. CJ Daniels is a good value later in the draft at wide receiver. Really good physical catch guy. And I liked Tim Keenan as late as you got him. I think he could have went earlier. But those first 3 picks are awful. Ty Simpson, Max Clare, and Keegan Trost. There's a possibility none of those guys play for the first 2 years of their career. That's really bad. So I gave them a C-, might be a D. Then the 49ers. This is an up and down one. So they reached with their first pick in Deshaun Stribling. I think they reached by a round or 2. But then they come back and take Romello Height, a perfect scheme fit for them. Kalen Black, I feel like every year Shanahan reaches on a running back that nobody thinks should go in the range that they went, and that was him this year. But then Grayson Halton at the tackle, Carver Willis, a tackle that's probably going to go into guard. Ephesians Prysock is a really great player. Steve and what's the Irish guy's name? Sam Monson. Steve Pelissero and Stan Munson check the mic. He loves Ephesians Prysock and thinks he can be a starter, so that might be a sneaky later round pick. I gave the Niners a B-. I think it's Stribling and Black are reaches, but I think the rest of the draft is pretty good. And knowing Shanahan, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he has a plan for how to use Black and Stribling. Then for the Seahawks, they went with Jadarian Price at the end of the first, Bud Clark, Julian Neal, Bo Stevens, Emmanuel Henderson, Andre Fuller, Devin Eastern, and Michael Dansby. Again, the last four guys there going to be depth pieces playing special teams, but I love the first four picks of this draft for Seattle. Jadarian Price is going to be the Kenneth Walker substitute, comes in, going to get a lot of carries. Bud Clark is a good safety. I think he's got a lot of playmaking ability. Julian Neal was one of my favorite third or fourth round prospects. I really was hoping he'd end up a Giant. And Bo Stevens might compete to play right guard right off the bat. So their first four picks are all potential starters. I gave the Seahawks a B. And looking at it, it might be a little low. They might be a B+, but I'll stick with a B based on the fact that the Jadarian Price pick, not everybody sold on, but I watched Notre Dame, and I think he's going to be really good. NFC North is next, and I'm going to start with the Bears. The Bears. And they get one of the biggest steals of the first round in Dylan Thieneman. That's an A+ pick. He can play either safety spot, wherever you need him to go. Logan Jones, good interior guy, center guard versatility. Sam Roush at tight end I like a lot. There's a lot of tight ends that got drafted early that I did not like, but Sam Roush was not one of them. That's a good pick. Xavier Thomas is a wild reach. You should not use a third-round pick on a guy that might only be a returner. Malik Muhammad and Keyshawn Elliott I like a lot as value, though. I think those were two guys that they got way later than they could have been picked. I gave Chicago a B+. And it honestly might be an A- looking at Malik Muhammad and Keyshawn Elliott late. Xavier Thomas is what keeps them out of the A range. I think that was a reach when you consider the receivers that were on the board at that point. But B+ for the Bears. Really good draft. Now, the Green Bay Packers, who did not have a first because they did the Micah Parsons trade, they had an excellent draft. Their first three picks are all guys I like a lot. Brandon Cisse, potential starter at corner, could have been a first-round pick. Chris McClellan, I think he'll be a good run stopper for the defensive line. Another guy I would not have minded ending up in Big Blue. Then Dennis Sutton, the pass rusher from Penn State, I like a lot. I've heard that name for a few years now. Jaeger Burton, big center. I think he could play guard. They like having versatile guys. Damani Jackson from Alabama, and then Trey Smack. I gave the Packers an A-. This is a hell of a draft when you consider they didn't have a first-round pick and still got four guys. The first four guys they drafted all could contribute pretty quickly. So I gave the Packers an A-. Then the Lions took Blake Miller, a pick that some people have an issue with. I don't have that big of a problem with it. I think he'll come in and be a serviceable player. It's just going to depend on the kind of development. Derek Moore and Jimmy Rolder, I like the players, but I'm not sure about the value of where they were taken. Keith Abney was excellent value. Skylar Gill Howard was good value. I don't know a lot about Kendrick Law or Tyree West, but I gave the Lions a B-. I thought that Derek Moore was a bit of a reach. I like the player, but I think there were better pass rushers on the board. And kind of same thing with Jimmy Rolder. I think he was drafted a little ahead of his ideal range, but they're Michigan guys. I don't like the idea of drafting lesser talented players because they're local to Detroit. So I gave them a B-. Might have been a C+, but I went with B- because I actually do like Blake Miller and expect him to translate pretty well. And lastly, for the NFC North, I have the Vikings with the worst grade in the class. And I don't know what I wrote down C+, but I think I'm going to go B-. Caleb Banks, I don't think was as much of a reach as everybody makes it out to be. I think if his foot injury isn't serious, what I heard is that it's not that serious. I think he's going to play really well. Banks, Galde, Dominique Orange could all be impact players pretty early for you. I liked Caleb Tiernan a lot there. Jacoby Thomas, Max Bredesen, drafting a fullback, I don't know. Damone Claiborne was a great late pick for them. So you know what? They are a C+. I think the first 4 picks they made were all pretty great with Banks, Galde, Orange, and Tiernan. And then Claiborne is pretty good too, but Thomas, Bredesen, Charles Demings, depth players. So I gave the Vikings a C+, knowing it might be low. They might be a B- with those first 4 picks. Now the NFC South, the Falcons, I gave a C+. Avion Terrell, they paired him up with his brother. Cute story. I like Avion Terrell. It'll just be a matter of how they utilize him. He'll probably be a nickel because he lacks game-breaking speed. Speaking of game-breaking speed, they took Zachariah Branch, the wide receiver, who I think went to Georgia, so low moving costs. That was a good pick. Speed Demon adds another weapon outside of Drake London. Kendall Daniels was a massive reach. That was a bad pick in my opinion. But Ontario Thompson has an elite relative athletic score. Harold Perkins, a guy who this time like a year or 2 ago was seen as a top, like a first-round pick potentially. So I like some of the depth they picked up. I gave them a C+. Now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this might be my best grade of either day. I gave them an A. Okay, so somebody got an A+, and I'm not thrilled about it. But the Buccaneers get an A for me. They get who, in my opinion, is the best pass rusher, Reuben Bain. Josiah Trotter, old school middle linebacker, just a hard hitter right up the middle. Ted Hurst, a big physical receiver. Doesn't replace Mike Evans because they're different archetypes, I would say. But a really great value. Keontae Scott, DeMonte Capehart, Billy Schouth, and Bauer Sharp. The first 6 guys they took might contribute. The Buccaneers played this board incredibly. Keontae Scott's fantastic. I don't care if he's smaller. DeMonte Capehart, defensive tackle. Schrouth from Notre Dame, another guard. This is an excellent draft for the Buccaneers, and I expect a bounce-back season from them. Then another excellent draft class in the South for the Panthers. They took Monroe Freeling. I think this was the perfect range for where I saw him in the class. Lee Hunter, a nose tackle that I like. I think he was good value. Chris Brazel, he is going to be their 3rd receiver and adds a lot of big playability with his explosiveness. Sam Hecht was a steal. Zakai Wheatley was a steal. I even like Will Lee quite a bit. This Panthers team had a great draft, and I really like what they've done. Going tackle, Monroe Freeling could start, or maybe he won't. I know they signed Walker, but Ike Ekwonu isn't going to be back to start the year, so I didn't look at their offensive line, but it's possible Freeling comes in as a starter. I gave them an A-. The New Orleans Saints, I gave a B+. They went with Jordan Tyson, Kristen Miller, one of my favorite players in the draft. I might have taken him over Colton Hood, but Colton Hood's also a first-round player, so that's fine. Oscar Delp, a good inline tight end. Jeremiah Wright, a guard. Bryce Lance, brother of Trey Lance, wide receiver, tall and explosive. Lorenzo Styles Jr., son of a former NFL player, brother of Sonny. Barrion Brown, and TJ Hall. I like this draft a lot. I think Jordan Tyson is going to be a number 1 receiver. I think he's excellent. Christian Miller is going to be great against the run right away. Oscar Delp is a different kind of tight end for them. They have Noah Fant and Johnson? I can't remember the other tight end they have, but they're more receiving tight ends where I think Delp can be more of a inline tight end. and give them more flexibility. And also, I like Bryce Lance, so doubling up at receiver. This is a really good draft for the Saints. I gave him a B+. Now, for my New York Giants division, the NFC East. I'm going last for the Giants, and I'll go first with my best graded draft of the NFC. I haven't done the AFC yet. The Dallas Cowboys got an A+. Caleb Downs is a top 3 player in this draft, and every time the Giants were on the board, I was hoping for him. Both picks they made were better picks, I think, but I just loved Caleb Downs. I think he's an all-pro for sure. Malachi Lawrence, I also loved. I think he belonged in the first round with his tools. Jay-Sean Barham from Michigan, he's listed as an edge. He played some linebacker. Are they looking at him to maybe do the Micah Parsons thing where he does a little bit of both? Drew Shelton, a versatile tackle. Devin Moore, another of my favorite mid-round cornerbacks. He's like 6'3", really athletic. LT Overton, I think, is a good hand-in-the-dirt defensive lineman. I don't think he'll ever be like a 10 to 15 sack guy, but he can start on a 3-4 defensive line, no problem, I think. It's an excellent draft by Dallas, one of the best I've seen in a few years, and it scares me. Dallas often drafts really well. This is an elite draft class. And the entire NFC East did really well. My lowest grade is the Eagles, and I gave them a B. And I feel like I might be undergrading them, but Mekhi Lemon is a slot receiver, and I get why they want him. You're going to trade A.J. Brown, obviously, and Devonta Smith is more of a downfield stretcher. So now you have Mekhi Lemon underneath. Then they took Eli Stowers, tight end, but he's not really a tight end. He's kind of a receiver. He's a bit of an Isaiah Likely. So I kind of see him as a slot as well. So I'm not really sure. I don't think that's your Dallas Goedert replacement. And I'm not really positive where you plan to use him, but I like the value and I like the athleticism. Markel Bell, what a Philadelphia Eagle. Just a massive human being. Cole Payton, I don't know. Quarterbacks that go from rounds 3 to 5, I think. It's almost a wasted pick because if a quarterback's not a starter, I don't know if I want to use a pick on them. Then they get a lot of depth with Micah Morris, Cole Wisniewski, Uwar Bernard, and Keyshawn James Newby. I don't know a lot of those. I don't know any of those last 4 players, but I trust Howie Roseman to fill out the bottom of a roster with good depth. So I gave the Eagles a B, but in a few years, this could be an A if I'm wrong about Mekhi Lemon and he has more of a explosive upside than I think he does. Then the Commanders, I gave an A. Even though they didn't have a second-round pick, I love the value they got. They got Sonny Styles, a top... I often say the top 3 in this class, and those were Arvell Reese, Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs. I think Sonny Styles is 4th. Sonny Styles is going to be excellent. He's going to start day 1 at middle linebacker for them. Going to be excellent. Antonio Williams is a good slot receiver that I think can do different things than Terry McLaurin. So that's a good pick from Clemson. They got Joshua Josephs, the pass rusher, I think from Tennessee. I like that pickup a lot as well. Katron Allen from Penn State, a running back I wouldn't have minded the Giants picking up. And then they got a quarterback from Rutgers. I don't know. Garrett Nussmeier was on the board. That's weird. And Matt Golden. So I think those first 4 players, Styles, Williams, Josephs, and Allen, could all be contributors pretty early for that Commanders team. And now, my New York Giants. So at number 5, they took what, in my opinion, is the best player in this year's draft, Arvell Reese. A lot of people are calling him a pass rusher. He's not. He's going to be a weak side linebacker for us that has the ability to rush, but he's an excellent run-stopping linebacker, and I don't think a lot of people are accurately understanding what they drafted him to be. They're just calling him a pass rusher, and he's not. Then we got CeCe Mawanoa at pick 10. Big nasty Samoan mofo. I love him. I feel like he could become like a cornerstone of this team, of like the physical mindset. Then at the top of round 2, I love the Colton Hood pick. If you watched my mock drafts, you know I thought of him as a first-round player. He's big, he's physical on the outside, not afraid to bump you on the line to get real physical with it. I think he'll come in, and him and Greg Newsome will probably compete for the starting job opposite of Paulson Adebo, who I've heard Paulson Adebo as the Colton Hood comp. So I like that. I think Colton Hood was a great value. Then they traded pick 105, their fourth rounder, and their fourth rounder next year to move back up for Malachi Fields, and I love that. I've seen some people say that giving up a fourth in next year's draft is risky because it's so talented. The whole next year's draft it's a fallacy. Next year's draft is like that other job on the other side of town you heard about that's better than yours that you always wanted to apply to. Like, the grass isn't always greener. And I love the Malachi Fields pick. Another Notre Dame guy, so I watched his stuff. I think he could play in the slot as a big slot. I think he can be a great red zone threat for Jackson Dart. The Giants really didn't have that. And bringing in Malachi Fields, 6'4", he's also not afraid to be physical in run blocking. I love that pick. He was one of my favorite players in the draft, and I thought of him as a second-round player. So the first 4 players in this draft are excellent, and I'm thrilled. And then they come back in the 6th round and get Bobby Jamison Travis, a defensive tackle. I looked him up. He's a run stopper, y'all. He is exactly what this Giants team needed. I feel like they've taken a lot of late-round defensive tackles in the past that haven't paid off, but I'm going to hope that with Harbaugh and Denard Wilson coming in, they're going to develop Bobby Jamison Travis a little bit more because I liked what I see with his physicality at the line. Then we got J.C. Davis, a versatile tackle who also could move inside. I thought he was like a 5th or 6th round player, so this was good value. And lastly, they took Jack Kelly. I like Jack Kelly. I thought he was like a 5th or 6th round player. He kind of reminds me a bit of Micah McFadden. I think that's a great pick. I really like the Giants draft. I wrote down B+. I'm moving it up to A-. I think the Giants had an excellent draft. I don't think they reached at any point for needs. They played the board really honestly, I think. And I don't see any of their picks as reaches. I really love that Giants draft, so I'm going to give it an A-. So now, a quick recap. NFC West, I gave Arizona a C. I gave the Rams a C-. I gave the Niners a B-. And I gave the Seahawks a B. In the NFC North, I gave the Bears a B+, but it might be an A-. Then the Packers, I gave an A-, missing a first-round pick. They did excellent. The Lions, I gave a B-, and the Vikings, I gave a C+. In the NFC South, the Falcons got a C+ from me. The Buccaneers got an A, one of the most complete drafts in the entire league. I'm actually going to bump that to an A+. That's an amazing draft. Dallas and Tampa had the best drafts, in my opinion. So it's an A+ for the Bucs. A- for the Panthers. Great draft. B+ for the Saints. The NFC South did really well. Then we moved to my NFC East, where the Dallas Cowboys got an A+. The Philadelphia Eagles got a B. The Commanders got an A, and the New York Giants got an A-. So, guys, what did y'all think of the NFC, and what did you think of my grades? Was I realistic for the NFC East? I sometimes fear, because I'm a Giants fan, my biases might come out when I'm talking about the NFC East. But I don't think I graded anybody unrealistically. So, guys, let me know what you thought of my grades. I'm going to start working on the AFC right away. That's going to be up either tonight or first thing tomorrow. So guys, hit like, comment down below what you thought of the draft and my grades. The Goose is out.